You are listening to the Cattle Call podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of ZenTek Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call podcast with Jim and Rocco from ZenTek Consultants. I am Jim, your jovial and overly talkative host, and with me, as always, is my partner,
Rocco.
See, who is about as much fun as a sock full of mud. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why you must all suffer through the engineering joke of the week. All right, Mr. Sock full of mud, you ready for this one?
I'm ready.
All right. Why are engineers good at basketball?
Why?
Because they can always calculate a right angle for every bank shot. Huh? Yeah, they get worse every week, folks. This is all Rocco's fault. I blame him. Don't hold it against me. All right, folks. We have a first-time guest on the show with us today. Ryan Harvey, who is the Internal Onboarding and Solutions Manager for SiteDocs, is here with us. So, Ryan, thank you for taking the time to do the show today, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Hey, for those of you this is a brave thing for Ryan. We were just saying before we get on here, he's been in like 2 meetings and a webinar with us over the last week, and he's still willing to talk to us. So props to that. That takes courage. All right, folks. For those of you who may not know, SiteDocs, it's kind of the premier system out there for construction folks to manage their HSC, right? Where it's my easy way of saying health, safety, and compliance, because that's a mouthful to constantly have to say throughout the show. So I'll say HSC a lot today. So it's help manage that HSC documentation. And Ryan's going to tell us all about it, right? But before that, though, let's learn a little bit about the man himself. So, Ryan, what can you tell people? Tell them a little bit about your background and kind of what you do over at SiteDocs.
Give us a better joke than the one he gave us, would you, Ryan?
Is that possible?
Oh man, I don't know if I have a safety one, but my go-to is, what do you call a sleepwalking nun?
I don't know.
Well,
a Roman Catholic.
Hey, wait. That gets the but-um-bum sound effect. There you go. I like it.
Yeah, so, my background as far as SiteDocs goes, I started at SiteDocs almost 7 years ago, just before the pandemic. I started as a customer support specialist, and then I moved through customer success manager, implementation specialist, technical solutions consultant, and then I led the technical solutions consultant team, and then moved into training and enablement. So I started with product training manager, and now I'm in this role. So I've sort of done everything on the customer success side of SiteDocs, and slowly become the foremost expert in SiteDocs, which is impressive in small circles. But any of my friends that ask what I do for a living, they're all just mystified as to what I just told them.
Say what?
Yeah,
what?
I've been working here a long time.
Yeah. No man is a prophet in his own home, Ryan. You got to realize that. That's just the way it works.
That's right. Yeah.
I said, I've never seen anybody so less impressed with me than my own wife. She just couldn't care less. No, maybe Rocco's less impressed with me, but that's possible. Okay, so look, folks. So ZenTek has recently partnered with SiteDocs to kind of bring this system to all of our construction clients, because we're constantly talking with people who are just looking for better ways to control their HSC workflows. All right, and there are, without doubt, right? The HSC workflows are just the most document-heavy and time-consuming processes in the construction management world. We just, we just talked to a lot of people who are at least, recognizing, major inefficiencies in their current processes. I mean, some of those are still using, paper forms in the field. And generally, just everybody is just looking to make it better, faster, and easier. So let's start with what kind of SiteDocs is here, right? Ryan, can you kind of summarize SiteDocs for us, and what does it do at its core?
Yeah, I mean, like at its core, SiteDocs is a software that's focused on streamlining your health and safety documentation processes. There's a lot to that, as you mentioned. There's a lot of different moving pieces, but really what it comes down to is moving people in high hazard situations off of inefficient systems. Most of the time that means paper. Sometimes it means more like less focused softwares and clunky systems that have been built internally, that kind of thing. But for the most part, it's talking with people who have been doing this a long time, always doing it on paper, and moving to a more efficient system to keep their people safe.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I'll even say some of those inefficient systems are digital, right? I mean, there are people who are like,
Yeah,
oh, we have an
sometimes.
Excel form and a PDF, and we email it back and forth. Right? That's better than
Yeah,
paper, I guess.
sometimes.
Sometimes, not
Sometimes not
always.
so much.
Um, yeah, well, look, we all know the reality, right? Things get lost in the ether out there in emails. I mean, it's insane. I can look at my emails, and over the last month, I've got 6,000 plus emails that I just, had got auto deleted by the inbox rules. So, and sometimes things
Yeah.
get caught in there. It's just the way the modern world works. So look, I guess for me, the thing that originally drew my attention to SiteDocs, it's kind of its ability to accumulate information, right, on both a project and a company-wide basis. One of the things that I have just watched people struggle with in this HSC space for my entire career, it's how to look at their safety information and make decisions and workflow changes that's based on an actual piece of information, not just on their perception of things. Look, when you talk to people, right, there's always a lot of this, well, I think, or, oh, we believe. Those kind of statements come up all the time when you get into, HSC reviews, right? And that can really be very dangerous territory from a legal standpoint if something goes wrong. It is particularly bad if something can be shown as a recurring pattern across your entire company that you failed to address. So Ryan, how does SiteDocs kind of help people with understanding company-wide issues, right, and making data-driven decisions about those?
Yeah, it's a good question. Making data-driven decisions is actually one of the core values of SiteDocs. So not only like does our product focus on that, but that's how we do things around the office here. And I think that the big thing that people struggle with when it comes to understanding those company-wide issues is a lack of data. And a lot of that is because the documentation either gets lost, doesn't get to the office, doesn't get done in the first place, or once it gets there, you just straight up can't read it. I have three brothers in different areas of construction. And all three of them tell me all the time how much they hate doing safety documentation, especially the one who works on scaffolds like 16 floors off the ground on oil rigs in the middle of Canada. He knows how to be safe, and he just thinks that safety paperwork every morning is a waste of time. And so once they actually started using SiteDocs, a lot of the documentation started getting done just because it was easier to do. But there's so much that gets in the way, right? It's trying to collect it. If you have work sites all over the place, especially for bigger companies that are stretched out across the country or multiple countries, it's hard to track down all that paper documentation. It gets shoved into glove boxes or left on dashboards, left in the bed of the truck, and then it flies away when you're driving around. There's all these different ways that you can lose documentation. And then trying to collect it is usually a weekly thing. And so if you're getting a form that was important on Monday, but you don't get it until Friday or maybe the following Monday, you can't action what your workers are seeing on site. And sometimes it's too late and something bad has already happened. And then like getting the forms into your office, Some people have bad handwriting, myself included, myself definitely included.
That's why I
And
type
then
everything.
like exactly. And then working on site, things get dirty, coffee gets spilled on things. Like I mentioned with the dashboard and stuff, the paper gets crumpled up. It's hard to read. It's ripped, whatever. There's a durability issue. And I know especially in Canada where we're based, there's a lot of issues with rain. It is currently raining sideways outside my window, and snow and all kinds of weather issues where your paper can get damaged. Um, so all of those things can really get in the way of understanding your company-wide issues if you don't have the information in front of you, or if by the time you get the information in front of you, it's too late to act on it. And so the big thing that we built into SiteDocs is that your paperwork is uploaded as soon as you sign it. The signature triggers that this form needs to go to the administrator panel, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. And if you're offline, all of that documentation is stored on your device, and as soon as you hit an internet connection, it uploads to your administrator panel. Because we realize that a lot of our people are working out where there's no cell service, and some of our customers in mining and things like that are working deep underground. So it's hard to get cell service. But as soon as you connect to the internet, it's uploaded right away. So you're not waiting weeks or longer to get your documentation, and people are typing it. So you're actually going to be able to read it.
Yeah, certainly helps. Yep. So Rocco, let's wake you up here a little bit. So yeah, in our client base, right, who do you see having the most interest in SiteDocs? I mean, are you talking primarily to like small, medium-sized businesses, or do you find that there are a lot of GCs who are looking into implementing it?
Oh, it's really a mix. Yeah, it's all over the map, and you're getting an idea from the conversation here with Ryan of the differing areas of construction where SiteDocs fits in. To be 100% transparent with everyone here, we've just recently become a partner for SiteDocs, and we're excited to grow the partnership. And what's making it even more exciting is the fact that as I'm talking to folks, I'm bumping into a lot of folks who are already using the product, and they speak very, very highly of it. So that means a lot to our partnerships and to our into our customer base.
Yeah, the reputation is spotless. So look, I think on my side of the business, right, from kind of the construction tech end, I see SiteDocs fitting into just about any company, right? The reality is that health, safety, and compliance documentation and tracking, they're legal issues that we all have to address, right? It doesn't matter if you're building a small coffee shop or a massive airport, right? You still have to be able to track the HSC requirements for your employees and also for every sub that steps onto your site. So Ryan, let's look at it from that side, right? How does SiteDocs kind of stack up in terms of scalability, right? What size firms can it easily fit into?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it already that like SiteDocs can really fit any organization. It doesn't matter how small or how large a company might be. We have customers that just have one or two employees who actually work for them. One of those being my best friend's company. It's just him and his dad making concrete forms to create the like sidewalks and signage and things for people's homes, even coming down to their actual foundations. But it's just the two of them, and they use SiteDocs every day, signing documentation and then auto sharing that documentation with the general contractor that they work for. But on the other end of things, we have companies, and like if you check out our website, you'll see the same logos. Companies like Lafarge and Clayton Homes that are on a huge scale, also using SiteDocs for the same stuff. And the software really is customizable to your needs, and we have a great team of people here who can help with that. And that's where ZenTek really comes in, is being able to help you tailor your account to exactly what you want. And one of the things that you mentioned being subcontractors that step on site. It's one thing to track the safety of the employees that work for you. They know what you need as far as safety documentation goes because they work for you every day. But when a sub steps on your site who you've never even spoken to before, you need a way to make sure that that person is safe on your site as well. 'Cause not only are you like legally liable for that, but as the person running the site, you want to make sure that everybody working on your site gets home safely, right? And the workforce management section of SiteDocs is a huge step forward for subcontractors. And we make it so that your subcontractors can still participate in your safety documentation, but they don't have to worry about downloading an app, remembering a password. God knows we have enough passwords to remember. You don't have to remember a new one for this one site that you're working on for maybe a day, if not even shorter. And so it's as easy as scanning a QR code that can be posted anywhere on site. And then you enter your email, you verify that you're really a human, and then you're into the SiteDocs account and able to fill out the documentation that you need. And the general contractor is even able to make it so that you only see the documentation you need, not every single form that's fillable in the SiteDocs account. And we've seen that in real time. We've gotten to go on sites with our customers where they're using workforce management. It was actually really cool. Our CEO actually got to use workforce management in real life in the field on site. It was a pretty cool moment. So it was a huge step forward when we released that last year. And it's been probably one of the most it's been one of the cornerstones of our software for the last little bit. Workforce management has been huge and it's really allowed huge companies to scale and allow people to log in, get their safety documentation done, and get to work.
Yeah. I see just massive interest when we're talking to folks in that, right? The fact that, like you said, a sub can just walk in instead of having to, stop what you're doing, take your time, tell him what he's got to fill out, explain it to him, give him forms, watch him do it. You simply say, phone, scan that. He scans it, it pops everything up, he does it, he takes his, PPE and all the other certs he has to have, and boom, there you go. Go ahead, all right, go do your work now. It's brilliant. I love it. It's one of the coolest things about it.
Yeah.
All right, folks, tell you what, let's take a quick break here so we can get a commercial in. And when we get back, I want to talk with Ryan in more detail, right, about how SiteDocs actually work, right? Particularly its kind of field to office capabilities, right? So hang around, folks. We'll be back in just a minute with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, Rocco. So we are sponsoring ourselves yet again today. What is it we want to talk about?
We're going to talk about me today, Jim.
No one wants to talk about you. Not even you.
Oh, fine. Let's talk about ZenTek Tech Blocks.
Awesome. I like ZenTek Tech Blocks. ZenTek Tech Blocks are prepaid support hours that let you call on ZenTek's experienced technical staff to address all your support questions, problems, help you with workflows and standards, really anything you need on the technology side. We're here to provide the support you need so that your most talented people aren't being dragged into helping everybody else in your company instead of working on the billable jobs that you need them focused on. All right. So ZenTek Tech Blocks are available in multiple sizes. We sell them in 5-hour, 10-hour, 20-hour, and 40-hour prepaid support blocks. And if you're interested and you need that sort of help, Rocco, how do they reach out to us?
Yeah, hit up our website, ZenTekConsultants.net. Give us a ring, 866-824-4459, or even drop us an email, sales@ZenTekConsultants.net.
All right, ZenTek Tech Blocks, the vital support that your people need exactly at the moment that they need it. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast. We're talking with Ryan Harvey from SiteDocs today about that software and how it can dramatically change the way that you handle all of your construction site, health, safety, and compliance processes for the better. And at the top of the show, we touched on, I guess, the general concepts and benefits behind SiteDocs. And in this half, I want to talk about kind of the practical processes and the benefits for the end users. So Ryan, let's talk about daily field use, right? How do people on site access and use SiteDocs, right? And what kind of functions can they perform standing out in the rain and the snow and 180 feet up in the air?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few different ways you can access the SiteDocs application. We've got an app that's available for download on iOS and Android, and also Amazon if you really want to. We would definitely recommend the more Apple or Android devices, but if you've got a Fire tablet, technically, SiteDocs will work on it. And then we also have a web application. We realize that a lot of people out in the field, they either don't want to download an app to their personal phone, which fair enough. I mean, your storage space is probably full of photos already. Why add another app that you got to use for work? But also there are people who use devices that aren't necessarily Apple, Android, Amazon. There's a lot of Surface Pro tablets out there, especially for people in the field, especially when they're using softwares like Bluebeam and things like that, where they need the bigger screen. Yeah. Right? But the Surface Pro tablets don't have an operating system like that, so we have a web application that you can use. The one thing that's missing from the web application is that it doesn't have an offline mode because it's a website, so it does need the internet to function. But yeah, those are the main ways that people access SiteDocs as like a worker in a SiteDocs account. And then there's also the version where you scan a QR code and you're able to log in that we talked about in the first half. That's a web app as well, which to scan a QR code, you need the internet. So with SiteDocs Lite, as we call it, you also need an internet connection there. But we're finding that less and less you're on a construction site with no network to some degree, whether it's cell reception or a portable Wi-Fi generator, whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways that you can access the SiteDocs application to fill out your documentation. And the mobile app is the best way to do it because you've got offline capability and storage on your phone. So lots of different options. But when you're standing out in the snow and the rain, especially up here, like I mentioned in Canada, a phone, you don't want to sit it in the water or anything like that, but using it in the rain or the snow, you're going to be able to still fill out your documentation, not worry about smudging pen strokes and things like that. And when you're working in really cold areas, we were mentioning that our office out in Saskatchewan got down to -40 the other day, like last year in the winter. Yeah, it's awful. So my thoughts and prayers are with my coworkers at our Saskatoon office. But in that kind of weather, you don't even want to take your gloves off, let alone work on a form where you got to fill it out with pen and paper. So with a phone or a tablet, it's easier. You can hold on to a stylus. You don't have to take off your gloves. We don't need your fingerprints or anything like that. We just need you to be able to sign it. So if you use something like a stylus, it makes it a little bit more accessible in the freezing cold and the rain. Even if you just don't want to touch somebody else's device. I mean, we were the answer for construction safety in the pandemic. All of a sudden, handing a piece of paper from one person to another wasn't safe. And when your safety program isn't safe, it's a real awkward moment for a lot of people.
Not where you want to be.
Exactly. It's not where you want to be. And so I know during the pandemic, the solution a lot of times was using SiteDocs, so you don't have to hand a paper back and forth. But even then, if you're handing somebody your phone, phones are full of germs. They're so gross when you think about it. And so being able to just pull a stylus out of your pocket and sign off without having to worry about that was huge. So it solves a lot of those standard construction issues around paper, especially when it comes to things like weather and stuff like that.
Yeah. I also think, the fact that, you can use, the speech to text, and you can take photos and videos and incorporate all of that right into, SiteDocs, right? Right from wherever you are. Oh, here's a problem. Take a photo, hit the speech button. Here's what's going on. We need to fix that. Send. Done.
Yeah. Oh, and it's so much faster, right? Like trying to type out like when something like an incident or a near miss happens, trying to type out what happened is a huge pain. So being able to use that voice to text, and also for people like me who can't spell, also super helpful. So yeah, it's a huge accessibility piece as well for people to actually be able to fill out that documentation. And you mentioned the pictures. Like not only is it like I can take a picture with my phone in the moment, you can also upload a photo from your photo library. So if you took a picture earlier in the day, you can upload it. But then on top of that, you can draw on top of that photo to like highlight what you're actually like taking a picture of. You can add time and date and location stamps to the photo itself. So if you took the photo in a different area than where you're actually filling out the documentation, you have those separate like date and time and location stamps. Yeah, there's a ton that can be done just in signing fillable forms, and then adding on being able to access your resources in the field. So things like safety manuals and safety data sheets, anything any sort of like PDF documentation that you usually would keep in a binder is now available in your pocket. Right, so not having to walk across site and find that binder and then leaf through it to try and find the right safety data sheet for the chemical you're working with. It's saving a lot of time. And yeah, like when you're working in the field, time is money, right? You got to get that job done. And so if you can save that, 15, 20, maybe even longer of trying to find the regulations around the thing that you're working with, it's a huge savings, and it makes it a lot less annoying to do your safety documentation.
That's it. You want people to do things the right way? Make it easier. That's
Exactly.
what it all boils down to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So look, and I think a great part about SiteDocs, right, is it comes with just a great set of health, safety, compliance, construction related forms and PDFs that you can use right out of the box. It comes with a ton of them. And that means that even the smallest contractor can just like jump right in and get going immediately without having to spend a whole ton of their own setup time. But for a lot of us though, right, we either have company standardized or even sometimes legally required forms and workflows that we need to use, right, to track and notify and tell other people about what's going on site. So Ryan, what functionality, I guess, does SiteDocs offer to let people customize and configure all the forms and the data tracking processes that are necessary for their own corporate workflows?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question. The form builder that we have, so we've two separate form builders, but they both function in a very similar way with the same items. So the form template builder has, I think we're up to something around 20 different types of items. I should really know that number off the top of my head, but I don't have it. But there's a lot of different items that you're able to add. So your form isn't going to be just text boxes, because that's where a lot of generic form softwares fall short of safety documentation, right? It's just long and short answer questions, maybe like a number field or something like that. But we focused on getting a form builder that allows you to make, like we've been mentioning a few times already, make your safety documentation easier to fill out and faster to fill out. Right? It takes up so much time filling out these forms every day. And so if we can make it easier for field staff to fill them out, they're a lot more likely to actually participate in your safety program, which means they're going to be a lot safer. So we've built in a lot of items that make it really easy to find the answers that you need for these forms. So we do have the standard, short and long answer questions in case you need to fill things out that aren't predetermined. But we also have a pass, fail, and yes, no items, check boxes, the simple things. But then we've added in customizable drop-down lists as well. So you can pre-populate answers for your workers, so that they don't have to think about like, oh, how am I supposed to phrase this hazard that I'm seeing on my site? It's there. It's in the list. They just pick it and keep going. Date and time stamps, the ability to add in pre-made images and PDFs, and they can also upload PDFs from their own device if they need to. And then we also have an item for adding in equipment that actually ties your form to the equipment profile of the piece of equipment that you're working with. So there's a lot of items that are super, super helpful. And we're working on an improved form builder that we're hoping to see in the next few months. So definitely keep your eyes peeled. If you're using SiteDocs, you'll get an announcement like you always do on your main page when that's released. It's a big development project that we've been working on for quite a while. So we've got some improvements coming, but even as it is, Form Builder is super flexible, and it was built with safety in mind, but we've seen it used for all kinds of things, right? The bulk of our customer base is construction and architecture and engineering, that kind of space, but we've seen it used for things like schools and churches and even daycares. Because the flexibility of the form builder is really great. And we have an incredible team of people who will help you with your forms as well. There's a whole team of form and data specialists over at SiteDocs who can help you translate what you have into a SiteDocs form to make it easier to fill out and get your workers actually participating in your safety program instead of doing everything they can to skip filling out those forms every day.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So look, I think one other area that I really want everybody listening to understand about SiteDocs, right? It's the back end dashboarding and reporting capabilities. Look, it is great to have a tool that's really easy to use out in the field. But from a business standpoint, it can be even more important to have the ability to track issues and statuses and problems in real time, and to kind of run comparative reports, whether it's across project types or regions or even across the whole company in just a few seconds, right? Instead of having to dedicate dozens of staff members, right, to spend a few weeks trying to accumulate and structure all that information into something that's understandable, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that, Ryan. What to your mind, what are the biggest reporting and tracking features in SiteDocs, right? And how are users benefiting from those?
Yeah, this is a huge part of SiteDocs. I have tried using Excel to build
Me too.
effective reporting, and it works. Obviously, it works. It's like everybody uses it, and there's a reason for that. But you almost need specialized training to build Excel effectively. Watching our financial team build their crazy Excel spreadsheets just breaks my brain. And the whole point of SiteDocs, from the field all the way in, we wanted to build SiteDocs so that it was easy to use, and you didn't need a degree to get it done. We wanted the experience for our users to be super simple. So there's two different versions of reporting, I guess, in SiteDocs, and it sort of depends on your level of need for reporting. So the main part of SiteDocs is our monitor. The monitor is the main page of SiteDocs. It's the first place you get dropped when you log into your administrator panel. It's where our users spend about 85% of their time when they're on the administrator panel. It's your general reporting dashboard for any sort of documentation you might need information about. So this isn't just limited to the fillable forms, although they're obviously there. Every form that you've ever signed in your account is stored in your monitor. Any upcoming scheduled forms are there in your monitor, so you can see what the status of scheduled forms are. Any of your resources, so those PDF documents I talked about, those are signable. And so if you have workers signing toolbox talks or SDS sheets to acknowledge that they learned the information, those are also stored there. But it extends to certifications as well. If your workers are entering their certifications, first aid and forklift certifications, like that kind of thing, those are reportable in your monitor. So any sort of documentation you're storing in SiteDocs is going to be available on the monitor, but it's not just a long list of documentation just to show you what's there for the sake of having it. The monitor is also fully customizable. There are, how many filters here? 3, 6, 9, 11 different filter options that you can add in. So date filters, completion status, document location, worker, company name, equipment name. There's a ton of different options for how you can filter and customize the layout of your monitor, and you can save multiple views for the different kinds of reports that you need day to day. So you don't have to be like filtering and customizing every single day just to get the information you need. You can save those views in place. So every day you need 3 or 4 different reports. They're already formatted for you, and all you got to do is click on them to see the information. And what we found is that the monitor fits most reporting needs for our customers, because most of the time it just comes down to like, are my forms finished? Were they in on time? Who am I waiting on? And then the ability to actually read them and see what's coming in. You can export the monitor to CSV as well if you want to move it into something like Excel, if you have to. But the monitor is really the home base of SiteDocs and where everything is stored. But if you need to take it to the next level of reporting and you want to get really detailed and really get into the items that are being filled out in your forms every day, there's also a product that's available for add-on that's called SiteDocs Analytics. SiteDocs Analytics is like where I started the whole technical solutions team. SiteDocs Analytics is amazing. It's a fully customizable analytics engine. All of the data that's stored in your SiteDocs account can be pulled into analytics, and then you can customize what your dashboards look like and really get into like the nitty-gritty data that's coming in from your forms. And we've heard like a couple people before have mentioned like, oh, like why are you keeping my data, in analytics where I have to pay extra to access it? We're not trying to hide your data behind a paywall. All of the information in analytics is also available from the monitor. It just requires a little bit more work to get it out and get it formatted, whereas analytics allows you to format your reporting however you want to, and even send it out to your team. So if you have higher level executives who are looking for percentages of incident causes and they want to see what are the most common hazards you're seeing on site and how you're mitigating those. Instead of sending them a bunch of forms for them to read through, you can create a custom report formatted the way they like to see it and then have it scheduled to their inbox every Monday morning. So analytics is just the next step up in reporting tools. And like I mentioned, the technical solutions team is amazing. They really know their stuff when it comes to analytics, and they can help you get your dashboards built to the specifications that you need to get the information out of your forms into a PDF report and sent out to the people who need to see it.
Yeah. No, it's a great set. I will even say just kind of put it in perspective for folks. We're like I said, we're relatively new, right, in partnering with SiteDocs, but we're having conversations with municipalities, right, where the individual municipalities are very interested in having to track all of their, applications and permits and variance requests and approvals, right, and using the analytics module, because they have to report to county and state level people who are just, need summary reports on how long did it take, how many did you approve, how many did you not approve, which ones were part of, this grant process and so on. So it's really, really remarkable the level of detail and control you can put in with the analytics. It's really neat. So Rocco, stop sleeping over there. We're going to wake you up. So when you're talking to our clients, what are you seeing more interest in? Is it the ease of use for field people, or is it more of the the report tracking and functionality for the back office that we were just talking about?
Then I was sleeping.
You see how long it took him to answer, folks? He was snoring. I could hear
him. Now, it's both, but mostly on a field end. I guess it's because of most of the folks that we talk with at this stage. They're like the organization that a product like SiteDocs brings is just hugely impressive, and people like organization, right? I mean, it says a lot for the company that you work for when you have a system like SiteDocs in place. So a lot of field folks, but certainly the folks in the offices appreciate the value and again the organization that it brings.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so look, folks, I get, right? Health and safety documentation and tracking, it's hard to stay on top of, right? On the site, things are time sensitive and you need to focus on the big issues that are happening right in front of you. So, things like, overdue forms or expiring licenses or certification updates, right? They get kind of pushed to the background, right? And the problem is that, one delayed form leads to two delayed forms and then 10. And then before you know it, the entire site has devolved into this like health and safety nightmare that honestly can leave the company open to, liabilities and legal actions that can shut the whole company down. Look, nobody, I think, ever intentionally ignores the safety forms. We all know how important they are. I think it's just we forget, right, due to the crazy pressures of just moving your construction jobs forward. Ryan, how does SiteDocs kind of help keep project safety documentation up to date and helps, how does it prevent people from forgetting about important tasks?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, like if you've seen any of SiteDocs ads come across your social media feeds, which now that you're listening to this podcast, and it's entirely possible that your phone will hear the word SiteDocs 800 times and start pushing our ads to you. One of our old staff, his name is Lance. He retired a couple years ago, and he was with SiteDocs for almost a decade. And before he worked for SiteDocs, he was an auditor for Manitoba Heavy Safety Association, and he was working in construction and heavy equipment for years before we got a hold of him. And then he stayed with us for a decade. And one of the things that he always brought up is that when you get into construction and that kind of industry, you didn't get into that job to fill out paperwork and push it around a desk. You got into construction because you wanted to build stuff, right? Like that's what you're on site to do is build cool stuff, not to fill out your documentation every morning. So one of the things that we really wanted to concentrate on with SiteDocs is making it easy to, get your documentation done and get back to work without missing the part of actually getting the information you need and keeping your workers safe. So one of the big things that we did was we built scheduled forms. So scheduled forms has evolved a bit over the last, I want to say, year and a half since we started on it. When it began, you could schedule a form to a worker, give it a due date and a due time, and it would send them notifications. And that's where it started, and it's evolved quite a bit. So now the whole process includes scheduling a safety form or a resource to either a worker in the field or any worker who's assigned to the correct location. You can also assign it to a single worker at any location, no matter where they are. Obviously, there's still a due date and a due time, but the big advancement that we think has really helped with saving time and avoiding errors is being able to pre-fill your forms. So when you choose a form template, you have the option to pre-fill answers. Now, obviously for things like inspections, you don't want to pre-fill passes and fails because you don't know what your people are going to see in the field. You also don't want to pre-fill, hazards or controls because you don't know what your workers are going to encounter when they actually get there. But you can do things like pre-filling muster points. You can pre-fill equipment names, pre-filling incident information if you're scheduling an incident follow-up. All that kind of information can be pre-filled ahead of time. And I know, at least from my brother's point of view, being able to do his truck inspection every morning and all of the information about his truck is already filled in makes his job a lot easier. If all he has to do is go through, he has to add his kilometers and then do his pass fails, it's a lot faster than having to enter all the information about, what truck he has and what's the VIN number and all the different specifications. That's already pre-filled for him, so he can quickly jump in and fill out the information he needs and keep moving. And then on top of pre-filling information for your workers, you can also pre-schedule additional signatures and approvals. So if you have documentation that needs to be signed by a secondary person or it needs to be approved by somebody, those can be scheduled in advance. So you can say that, if your incident report is due by Friday and then it needs to be approved on Monday, you have two separate due dates. The person who fills it out has to have it done by Friday, and then once it's finished, the approval is scheduled for the next Monday morning. And all of that is trackable from your monitor. So if you've sent out site inspections for every Monday, you can check on Tuesday, make sure that they've been signed. And if they haven't, you're going to get a bright red bar across your monitor letting you know, like, hey, Jeff missed his site inspection this morning, and then you can reach out and bug him about it. And from their side of things, not only are they going to get a push notification when the form is assigned to them, but there's also a to-do list that's put on their homepage of their SiteDocs application with numbers as to how many forms they have due that day. And they can even look into the future and see what's coming for them for the week, so they can prepare themselves for all of the documentation they got to fill out over the next week. So there's a lot of checks put in to help people remember what they have to get done. I know I can't keep track of anything unless it's right in front of me. So we wanted to give everybody the opportunity to see those items that are upcoming so that they're ahead of things. They get reminded and fill out their documentation on time, help them get back to work.
Beautiful thing. I tell you what, man, I literally, when I was in the military, I would have killed someone to have a tool like SiteDocs for the vehicle, the VIC inspections. Having to get in and out every time you got in and out of that vehicle, right? Checking the VIN number and the text and the bumper number and what's the UEI code and what's all of it. Having that pre-populated, oh my God, it would have saved me 3-4 hours a day every single day. Every time I get in and out of my ambulance.
Yeah, well, and even if you don't pre-fill the VIN number, maybe you don't know which truck your worker is going to be getting into that day, right? Not every company has a truck that's assigned to every person, right? But if you put in a short answer question, we have a barcode scanner that's available. So if you jump into your car, all you got to do is scan that barcode for your VIN number and it'll pop it in for you. So you don't have to type it every time. I know my dyslexia gets in the way of those big, long serial numbers every single time.
Yep.
So being able to just scan a barcode and plug it in. You could even create barcodes for your workers for all the different answers they need and put them in the glove box if you need to, right? The barcodes are super flexible at this point. Like the ones that are, attached to your vehicle obviously aren't as much, but if you go to a barcode generator online, you can fill out all the numbers that you need to fill in, any of the other information, and you can just scan them into SiteDocs with our code scanner.
Beautiful things, man. All right, folks, tell you what, as I always do when we have a guest on, I'm going to give Ryan the last word, right? So he can tell us about all the other important stuff that I forgot to ask about. So, right, what else do you think everybody should know, about health and safety and workflows in general, or about how SiteDocs can help in that space that we didn't get to?
Yeah, good question. And you might have opened a can of worms here, but my big passion when it comes to SiteDocs is Workflow Studio. Workflow Studio is our automation and integration engine that we have built. There's a lot of automations that are already built into SiteDocs. And so we wanted to give you even more customizability and more options. So there's already things that, like I mentioned, with the scheduled forms, being able to schedule things ahead of time and have it repeat every Monday, and having, when your certification is coming up for expiry, you're going to get a notification at 60, 30, and 1 day from your expiry. Those are all built into SiteDocs. You get them no matter what package you're working with, what tier you're in. You're going to get those automations already built in. But if you want to go up to the next step, just like SiteDocs Analytics, we have Workflow Studio. Workflow Studio is available to add onto your subscription. It gives you the ability to automate so many tasks just in your SiteDocs account alone, let alone being able to integrate with other softwares. And there's a ton of different softwares that are available, but I really love the options that SiteDocs gives you just in the SiteDocs module by itself without having to bring in any other application. There's a lot of connectors as far as like filling in certain fields of like worker profiles and things like that. But what it really comes down to is automating those little tasks that you do all the time. And there's a bunch of templates that are already pre-made by our technical solutions team that will build you an automation without you having to do anything. Some of the ones that we really see are used all the time is custom notifications for certification expiry. It's great to have the 60, 30, and 1 day notification, but if you want to customize how often those are sent or what the message looks like, I know for me with my reminders, if my reminders aren't rude to me, I don't actually pay attention to them. So if you want to customize your notifications to be a little more rude, you can do that.
But that's rude by Canadian standards. Does that really count?
Yeah,
that's as nice as people get here in Jersey.
That's probably true. It's the ability to assign follow-ups to failed items. That's a huge one. Every time that there's a failed item on one of your inspections or your equipment forms, you can automatically assign a follow-up form that's assigned to somebody in your company. So you could set up, if an equipment item fails, then assign a follow-up to my mechanic, assign to that item, and give them a due date to get it done by. There's a ton of these templates. I could go through them for hours. It used to be my job. But like the ability to automate these little tasks of setting custom reminder messages or scheduling forms after different forms are built or created. Even just things like assigning new workers to your locations, right? I don't know how many of our subcontractor companies have like thousands of locations because they're dropping into different places all the time. So you hire a new person, you've got 50 locations that you're working on. With Workflow Studio, you don't have to go through and click assign for every single location. When a new worker is created, they're automatically assigned. When a new worker is created, they're automatically assigned a new worker orientation form that's due within 7 days. There's all these little tasks that get done all the time by our safety managers and people like that. And Workflow Studio gives you the ability to automate them. So you don't have to do it and you can concentrate on the actual people part of your job rather than the button pressing part of your job. And that's just with the SiteDocs module by itself. And then you add in all the different softwares that you're able to integrate with, things like the entire Google suite, the entire Microsoft suite, and then things like Slack and Dropbox and Bamboo HR, like these kind of softwares that a ton of people are using. You're able to integrate SiteDocs with the rest of your tech stack. And the whole thing is low code. So you don't have to know how to write JavaScript or Python or any of those things to manage this. You don't need to have a computer engineering degree. I barely have a high school diploma, and I'm able to use Workflow Studio super well. So it's really, really simple to use. If you have any sort of background in connecting softwares to each other, you can run Workflow Studio. And we created Workflow Studio when I was the manager of the technical solutions team. So I had to learn this thing from scratch so I could teach my team how to support our customers. So I've really been into this software as deep as you can go, and there's so many options, and it really there's a huge return on investment for Workflow Studio. The amount of time that safety managers are spending doing these little repetitive tasks is huge, and you don't realize it until you automate it out, and suddenly you've got an extra 4 hours back in your week, and then you got to figure out what to do with it.
There you go. Hey, I think the bar, but yeah, maybe Rocco wouldn't like that if I did. I tell you what, I think we're going to have to drag you back on here again to just do a show just on Workflow Studio at some point to really get into the details of that. So
I could do it. And there's some, now that I've left that team, there are some real wizards that have joined as well. So I don't know if I can convince them to get on a podcast. They kind of like being quiet in their little dungeons, building their automations, but they do. I manage them. They are way smarter than I am. So I might be able to claw one of them out of the dungeon. We'll see. But worst case, yeah, I'd love to do it. It's Workflow Studio is a really, really powerful tool. So when you take something as powerful as SiteDocs and then you add on an automation engine, like the limits are really just your imagination and your ability to connect to these different softwares. So there's a lot that you can do.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable stuff. I'm just stunned by what I've seen with it so far. So, all right, folks, I tell you what, with that, we are going to get out of here. But I do want to thank Ryan one more time for taking the time out of his crazy busy schedule to talk with us today. It's really greatly appreciated, Ryan. And I do hope that you will come back in the future and tell us about Workflow Studio and all the cool new features that you guys are putting into SiteDocs.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some big stuff coming in 2026, so we'll stay on top of it. And the next time we've got a big release coming, we'll set something up.
Sounds like a plan. All right, folks, we're going to get out of here, but we'll catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody, today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of ZenTek Consultants. That's Rocco and I. ZenTek Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. ZenTek strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to ZenTek?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentekconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentekconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.